Welcome to another episode of PP Ball Pod. You know, surviving child stardom is, well, it's a lot like trying to escape a gravity well.
Totally.
Most young actors never really break free of that trajectory set for them when they were kids. But today's subject, she didn't just escape that gravity well, she built this entire multi-billion-dollar empire in orbit.
It's an incredibly rare trajectory. I mean, we're looking at this massive central contradiction today that is just endlessly fascinating.
Right.
How does a person become the most followed woman on Instagram and a billionaire cosmetics mogul and, a Cannes-winning actress, yet spend over a decade feeling totally defined by tabloids?
Yeah, and her teenage romantic relationship.
Exactly. And that squeaky-clean childhood Disney image rather than her actual, very substantial body of work.
It's a massive contradiction.
Yeah.
And to understand it, we're taking a deep dive into the life of Selena Gomez. Now, if you are listening to this, you probably know her as a massive pop star, or maybe you've watched her trade barbs with Steve Martin on TV. But you probably don't know the full story.
Most people don't, honestly.
Right. We've pulled together this massive stack of sources for this deep dive, interviews, financial reports, medical disclosures, critical reviews, just to figure out exactly how she engineered this escape.
Because it really was engineered.
It was. We're going to look at the mechanics of her rise from, genuine financial struggle in Texas through terrifying health battles all the way to her current status as a $1.3 billion business powerhouse and a global mental health advocate.
And to really grasp the mechanics of what she achieved, we have to start far away from the Hollywood machine. Because her origins basically inform every single business and personal decision she makes later on.
Yeah, you have to go back to Texas.
Right. She was born in 1992 in Grand Prairie, Texas. It's a suburb of Dallas. And she was actually named after the legendary Tejano singer Selena Quintanilla.
Which is such a big name to live up to.
Oh, for sure. But the financial realities of her early life were just incredibly stark. Her mother, Mandy, was just 16 years old when Selena was born.
16?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine the pressure of trying to raise a child while basically still being a child yourself.
Right?
The sources detail some really vivid memories from that time. Like, Gomez remembers her and her mom literally searching the floorboards of their car for stray quarters.
Wow.
Just to buy enough gas to get around.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother talked about walking to the local dollar store to buy spaghetti for dinner because, that's all they could afford.
Yeah, they were really scraping by. Her parents divorced when she was 5, and she was raised primarily by her mother, but with a lot of help from her grandparents.
They really stepped in.
They did. They took care of her while her parents were finishing their own schooling. And if you think about the psychology of that kind of early environment, the financial instability, relying on an extended family network just to survive, it creates a very specific kind of drive.
It creates an intense desire for stability.
Right.
And control.
Exactly. Total control.
And she found a path to that stability surprisingly early.
Yeah.
She actually caught the acting bug, watching her mom prepare for local stage productions.
Mm-hmm.
And then, by 2002, she landed her first gig on Bunny and Friends.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. But what stands out in our sources is just how unprepared she was at first.
Mm-hmm.
She was painfully shy. She didn't know what camera right was. She didn't know what blocking meant.
Right, and just for anyone unfamiliar with set terminology, blocking is essentially the physical choreography of a scene.
Yeah.
It's the director telling you exactly where to stand on the floor on this specific piece of tape so that the lighting hits you perfectly and the camera can actually see you. It's the absolute fundamental math of TV production.
And she learned that math from a giant purple dinosaur.
Literally, yeah.
But that was just the training ground. The real test, the thing that locked her into that gravity we talked about earlier, was when she was cast as the lead, Alex Russo, in the Disney Channel sitcom Wizards of Waverly Place.
Which was huge.
Colossal success. It earned her a slew of awards and instantly minted her as a certified teen idol. But I want to pause here because this is where the tension really starts.
Yeah, it does.
Our sources show that this level of early manufactured fame places you in a very tightly constructed box.
A highly profitable, highly restrictive box. When you're the star of a Disney show, the parent company doesn't necessarily view you as an independent artist discovering your voice.
Right.
They view you as a highly efficient vehicle for reaching a very specific pre-existing demographic. You're basically a product designed to monetize a fan base.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to understand the actual friction here. If you are Disney and you have this wildly popular star who wants to make music, Why wouldn't you just let her do what she wants? Like, why try to control her artistic identity if she's already proven she can draw an audience?
Because corporate synergy demands predictability,
Yeah.
not artistic experimentation. Under her Disney-owned Hollywood Records contract, she actually wanted to form a real egalitarian band.
She didn't want to be a solo act.
Right. She didn't want to be a solo pop act right out of the gate, but the label completely pushed back. They knew where the guaranteed money was, and it was in the brand name Selena Gomez.
So they basically forced her hand.
Yeah, they forced a compromise. They put her name at the very front to capitalize on the TV show's fame, and that created Selena Gomez in the scene.
Right, I remember that.
It gave her the illusion of a band project, and it generated hit albums like Kiss and Tell, but structurally, it was a label-mandated product, not her pure artistic vision.
So the friction is between being a corporate asset and being a human being, which totally explains why she had to execute such a drastic pivot later on.
Oh, absolutely.
The moment she really started to wrestle control of her narrative away from that machine wasn't a slow transition. It was a deliberate shock to the system. She took a role in Harmony Korine's incredibly edgy, neon-soaked indie film Spring Breakers.
That choice was such a masterclass in strategy. A New York Times critic at the time astutely noted that Spring Breakers gave Gomez a chance to simulate the chaotic, rebellious behavior that feeds the tabloids, but in a totally controlled artistic environment.
That is so smart.
It really was.
Yeah.
She got to play the wild child on screen, avoiding the career-crushing price of having a real-life public meltdown like so many other former child stars.
I love that. It's like a controlled demolition. If you want to tear down a massive building in the middle of the city, in this case, her squeaky-clean Disney image, you don't just blow it up and let the debris crush everything around.
Yeah, you'd ruin your career.
Right. You carefully place the explosives, you bring it down strategically, and nobody actually gets hurt. It was a completely calculated way to destroy the old brand and clear the lot for something new.
That's a perfect way to look at it. And it reveals her underlying philosophy. She stated explicitly in one of our source interviews, "I'd rather have 4 scenes in a Martin Scorsese film than star in a standard coming-of-age romance."
And for those who might not be film buffs, Scorsese is what you call an auteur. That's a director with such a singular, commanding vision that they are considered the true author of the film.
Exactly.
She didn't want to carry a safe, boring movie based on her fame. She wanted to be a small part of a brilliant artist's vision. She wanted to be challenged.
And that hunger for control and challenge bled directly into the mechanics of her music career, too. She made a massive structural change. She fired her parents as her managers in 2014.
Which is huge.
Yeah, in the entertainment industry, having your parents manage you as a child is very common, partly for protection, but untangling a multi-million-dollar enterprise from your family dynamic is notoriously difficult.
Both legally and emotionally.
Oh, 100%. But she did it. She signed with high-powered industry management, completely left Hollywood Records, and signed with Interscope to release her album Revival in 2015.
And Revival was the payoff of that controlled demolition. Critics were practically unified. They called it the sound of a newly empowered pop artist who was finally growing into her own strengths.
It was a total declaration of independence.
It really was.
Okay.
And from there, the artistic choices just get bolder. She transitions into this powerhouse actress and producer. She holds her own and thrives, honestly, alongside absolute comedy legends Steve Martin and Martin Short in Only Murders in the Building.
And then she pushes even further. She actually wins the Best Actress award at the Cannes Film Festival for the 2024 film Emilia Perez.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And this wasn't just a standard drama. It was a Spanish-language cartel musical. It required a level of vulnerability and theatricality that is just light years away from her sitcom origins.
Seriously.
Simultaneously, she's connecting deeply with her Mexican heritage. She released her Grammy-nominated Spanish-language EP Revelation, and she's even collaborating on an upcoming 2025 album called I Said I Love You First with her husband, Benny Blanco.
But here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, incredibly difficult. Because while she is building this unprecedented, critically acclaimed career on her own terms, her physical body is quite literally shutting down.
Yeah.
The human stakes behind the glossy magazine covers were unbelievably high.
Yeah.
And this is where the narrative shifts from a story about career strategy to a story about basic survival.
The medical facts outlined in our sources are just harrowing. She was diagnosed with lupus, which is a chronic autoimmune disease.
Right.
To put it simply, instead of your immune system fighting off infections, it gets confused and starts attacking your own healthy tissues and organs. The physical toll is immense. She had to undergo chemotherapy to try and reset her immune system.
Which forced her to cancel major, highly lucrative tours.
Yes. And it didn't stop there. The disease progressed to the point where her kidneys were failing. In 2017, she required a kidney transplant, which she received from her friend, actress Francia Raisa.
Wow.
But even that procedure, which is already a massive trauma to the body, went terrifyingly wrong.
Yeah, the surgical details are incredibly intense. During the transplant, one of her arteries actually ruptured.
Which is terrifying.
It is. An artery is a major blood vessel carrying high-pressure blood away from the heart. When it ruptures, it is an immediate, catastrophic life-or-death emergency.
Yeah.
The surgical team had to perform an emergency operation, literally extracting a vein from her leg to rebuild the ruptured artery and save the new kidney.
I just want to sit with that for a second. The level of physical trauma she endured is staggering. But while her body was attacking itself, her mental health was also in an absolute crisis. And she has been remarkably bravely open about this. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She revealed she suffered an episode of psychosis in 2018.
Which is so scary to go through in the public eye.
Oh, absolutely. She spent significant time in treatment facilities dealing with severe anxiety and depression.
And we have to look at the environmental factors exacerbating that biological reality. A massive, undeniable trigger for her mental anguish was the intense, microscopic scrutiny of social media and the tabloid press.
Which brings us to this incredibly deep, almost tragic paradox regarding her relationship with the internet.
Right. Let's look at the numbers. She was the very first person in the entire world to reach 100 million followers on Instagram.
Which is insane.
Right. Today, she is the most followed woman on the platform. She possesses an unparalleled level of global reach. Yet the sources explicitly state that when she hit that 100 million mark, she freaked out. It broke her.
This raises an important question. How does someone whose entire brand, whose massive financial empire relies so heavily on global visibility and cultural relevance, protect their own sanity?
It seems impossible.
She was heavily scrutinized for years by tabloids, not for her acting or her music, but for her health struggles, which people wildly speculated about, by the way.
Constantly.
And her past on-again, off-again relationship with Justin Bieber. She stated she often felt completely sexualized from a very young age and defined entirely by who she was dating or what she was wearing.
So she did something unthinkable for a modern celebrity. She stepped away. She took 4 entire years off of social media.
4 years.
She gave her passwords to her assistant and disconnected. If you were listening to this and you run a business or you're trying to build a brand, you know that visibility is oxygen. To willingly cut off your oxygen supply for 4 years goes against every rule of modern marketing. But she did it to survive.
And ironically, that absence, that refusal to play the daily engagement game actually increased her authenticity and her brand value when she eventually returned.
It really did.
She realized the power of the platform she had built, but she fundamentally changed how she interacted with it. She stopped trying to curate a perfect image and began using that immense visibility for advocacy.
And just to be completely clear to you listening, as we discuss this next part, we are not taking a side or endorsing any of these specific political positions. We're simply impartially reporting what the source material details about her actions and how she chose to utilize her cultural capital.
Exactly. We're just looking at the facts of her advocacy. The sources document her speaking out defensively regarding the DACA program and undocumented immigrants. She even executive produced a docuseries about it.
Right.
She has posted critically about ICE deportations. She signed open letters urging a ceasefire in Gaza. She has publicly spoken out against the reversal of reproductive rights. The critical takeaway here isn't the specific politics.
No.
It's the factual demonstration of an artist deciding to leverage their platform, knowing full well the economic and social backlash it will inevitably invite.
She basically stopped trying to please everyone. And that realization that she could leverage her fame for something larger and more authentic to her values perfectly parallels her evolution in the business world.
Oh, completely.
Which leads us to the creation of Rare Beauty in 2020.
Rare Beauty is a fascinating case study in modern celebrity enterprise. The cosmetic industry is completely flooded with celebrity brands. Almost everyone with 1 million followers has a makeup line, but Gomez engineered this entirely differently.
Yeah, I look at Rare Beauty like a Trojan horse.
Ooh, how so?
Well, on the outside, to the casual consumer walking through a makeup store, it looks like just another beautiful, highly pigmented, incredibly successful celebrity cosmetics line. But inside, structurally, it is an economic engine specifically built to fund mental health access.
The numbers back up that analogy entirely. The company was recently valued at a staggering $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah, which is the primary asset that catapulted Gomez into billionaire status. But the crucial differentiator, the thing that separates it from just being a cash grab, is the Rare Impact Fund. 1% of all rare beauty sales goes directly into this fund.
And what's the goal of the fund?
They have a stated goal of raising $100 million to expand access to youth mental health services and education.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back on the economics of this.
Yeah.
1% of all sales. Not just net profits, but gross sales.
Right.
In the cosmetics industry, margins can be incredibly tight when you factor in research, development, marketing, and retail space. How does giving away 1% of top-line revenue not completely bankrupt a startup?
It's a phenomenal question, and it speaks to the genius of the model. In traditional retail, yes, that would be a crushing liability.
Right.
But in the modern creator economy, consumer loyalty is the most expensive thing to acquire. By embedding a genuine high-stakes philanthropic mission into the core revenue model, Rare Beauty doesn't have to spend nearly as much on traditional advertising.
I see.
The consumers aren't just buying blush. They feel they are actively funding a cause they care about. That creates a level of brand evangelism that money literally cannot buy. The 1% pledge isn't a liability, it's the primary engine of their growth.
That makes total sense. The vulnerability, the mission is the marketing. And our sources show this isn't some new PR pivot for her. This is the culmination of a lifelong dedication.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, exactly, she became a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador at the age of 17. She was traveling on field missions to places like Ghana and Nepal, focusing on clean water, nutrition, and education, long before she was launching a billion-dollar company. Rare Beauty is simply the adult, hyper-scaled, economically self-sustaining version of the advocacy she's been doing since she was a teenager.
And the broader business world has definitely noticed this evolution. Financial publications in our source stack have noted her distinct shift away from traditional product endorsements.
Yeah, she's past that.
She isn't just posing with a bottle of shampoo for a flat fee anymore. She is demanding actual business development, equity, and ownership ventures. She isn't just the face of the brand. She is the architect of the brand.
Which is precisely how you build a $1.3 billion net worth. She leveraged the very fame that almost destroyed her mental health to build an independent, impenetrable financial fortress.
So what does this all mean for us? If you are listening to this and looking at your own life or career, the lesson here is profound. When we look back at the whole picture, we see a woman who survived childhood poverty, survived the incredibly rigid, manufactured child star machine, survived life-threatening physical illness, and endured immense public scrutiny. And she emerged on the other side, not as a victim, but as a billionaire on her own terms.
Exactly.
She reclaimed her narrative not by hiding her flaws or her illnesses, but by realizing that in today's world, authenticity and vulnerability are the ultimate currency. She made her humanity the very core of her brand.
It's a profound cultural shift, and I think it leaves us with a really provocative thought to consider.
What's that?
Look at how Gomez strategically shifted away from standard endorsement deals to outright business ownership. Look at how she moved from label-mandated pop anthems to deeply challenging auteur acting roles. Does her specific trajectory signal the definitive end of the traditional pop star era?
Well, that's interesting.
Are we entering a new model where entertainers can no longer just sing and dance, but must become multi-hyphenate moguls, business strategists, and vocal advocates just to survive the relentless churn of the modern entertainment industry?
It's a fascinating question, and one that her career forces the entire industry to ask. It changes the blueprint for absolutely everyone coming up behind her. Thanks for listening to PPL Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.